Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Greg here today bringing you guys a Call of Duty Modern Warfare gameplay commentary. Today we'll be playing some ground war on Karst River Quarry. I started off this video with a death, so I just decided to cut that out. But I don't really want to cut out any of the gameplay because I want to be going over what I'm doing, what's going on in my mind, all this other kind of stuff as we're playing this game. But anyways, so as you can see right now, they have the C, D, and E flag, and in ground war, enemies are going to be spawning around the flags that the enemies control. So your team can be spawning at B and A if you have B and A, but your enemies cannot be spawning in that area unless they have like tac inserts or they have squad mates over in that area. In ground war, you have up to 4 squad mates, including yourself. So as you guys can see that I have a squad of 3 other people. I do not know who they are in this gameplay. I was playing solo, so it just gives you those extra teammates that you can spawn on, so that way you're not spawning all the way in the HQ or on flags. You can spawn on your teammates if they're in good positioning and stuff like that, and you can choose where you want to spawn. And I'm just explaining this just in case you have never played ground war before. Now, in this gameplay, I'm running the counter UAV, the chopper gunner, and the support helo, which is kind of a weird kill streak setup, but that's really what I like to do whenever I'm playing the game. Is I don't always like to run meta stuff. I don't really enjoy always using like a Grau or an M4A1 or an MP5. I just don't really find the game fun if I do that. I know there's a lot of players in ground war that really just like to just only go for nukes. That's the only thing they have their mind on, so they're constantly using the sweatiest class in the game with the sweatiest kill streaks and all other kind of stuff, and it gets really annoying after a while. So if you ever find those kinds of players, yeah, just either join them or leave the game. And what I mean by join them is just start spamming back the most OP shit in the game. But it gets really annoying after a while, and I don't really like to play like that all the time. I mean, sometimes I do, you know, if I'm really just in the mood to go for a nuke and I've been struggling with other guns. But what I really like to do is mess around with the Gunsmith. As you guys can see, I'm using a SCAR with a little bit of a weirder setup. So what I'm using on this setup right here is the Commando foregrip, the 20 LB barrel, the compensator, I believe, and then the Obelisk Pro stock. And the reason I was using it like this, I think I was at FMJ on. That might have been too many attachments. I'm not really sure, but I think that's what the class setup was. But anyways, they recently buffed the SCAR for ADS time, so it has a little bit more ADS time. So I was trying out some different attachments. Honestly, I really like the Merc foregrip now. They also stealth buffed that attachment, and it's extremely good now. Also, it does give you a little bit of horizontal recoil control. But I think the best thing now for horizontal recoil control is having a Merc foregrip and a muzzle brake on the gun. No longer the Commando foregrip. Some guns I still do like the Commando foregrip, but it really just depends on the gun. But anyways, so yeah, right here, I'm just defending this area right here. I don't want them to get up to C, so I know they're going to be coming from D, and that's what I take advantage of. I end up picking up my support helo. And in ground war, the support helo gets a lot more kills than it normally would in like 6 versus 6 and 10 versus 10, but it's still not that amazing of a kill streak just because it has really low health. It does have 2 cannons on it, or twin cannons as they call it, as the what's that thing, like the accommodation you get at the end of the game. It has 2 turrets on it. That's what I meant to say. So it can be attacking multiple enemies at once. The problem is there's so many players in this game that use cold-blooded ever since Warzone came out, and it just, your kill streaks do a lot less damage now because Warzone classes and multiplayer classes are together. But anyways, so I call my chopper gunner here, and the chopper gunner isn't really all that broken in this game compared to previous games. Again, a lot of the kill streaks in this game really just lack health. That's their main issue, and the same goes with this chopper gunner. For some tips with the chopper gunner real quick is, if you want to get more kills with this kill streak, you should be trying to target players that are by themselves with your main gun, and then also use the Hydra rockets if you are seeing people clustered up, or if people are harder to get with your cannons and are shooting back at you. Then you can go ahead and shoot off a Hydra rocket at them, and it will put some splash damage down on the ground, which can really help you rack up a lot more kills. I generally average around 9 to 10 kills per chopper gunner. I think I have like a 9.3 average per use. A lot of my friends say that seems a lot higher than what they have, considering that they usually only have like 5 kills per chopper gunner, and it's really dependent on how you use your Hydra rockets. So you really want to make sure that you are using your Hydra rockets wisely, and as you keep using the kill streaks, you will realize how you should be using them and stuff like that. But you just want to take that into consideration next time you get a chopper gunner. Make sure that you are not just spamming all your Hydra rockets off, because that is where the majority of getting those consistent high kills is going to be with. As for the tip for the counter UAV, call it in an area where the enemies are not really going to be looking. People with spotter will still be able to see it, but I like to call it in an area where people are not necessarily going to be able to see it, which means away from the middle of the map. Now, if you do call up your counter UAV in the middle of the map, and let's say people are in the middle of the map, they will have their HUD scrambled up, and it gets a little bit hard for them to see. But the problem with this is your counter UAV is pretty much going to be shot down instantly, so I like to keep the counter UAV out of sight from the enemies, and more towards just me, having the counter UAV really help me out. Also, if you're running the counter UAV and using this strategy, you don't have to really run Ghost in ground war, considering it's going to be really hard for enemies to shoot down your counter UAVs, especially if they're not running spotter. So you can use something like Hardline, which is exactly what I was using in this gameplay. And generally, you want to save your counter UAV until you hear an enemy UAV being called in. Don't just throw it up, since red dots don't show up on the radar in this game without a UAV active. So I would consider to not waste the counter UAV unless you know for a fact that they called in a UAV and stuff like that. It will just really help you stay on a streak, especially if you're not using Ghost. Also, the counter UAV is a really powerful kill streak in ground war, because a lot of those sweats that like to use, like I said, they're going to be using M4s, Growls, MP5s, just trying to nuke you. If you get a counter UAV, you can place it outside the map and just save it until you hear enemy advanced UAV, and in that way, whenever those little sweaties and parties are trying to lap advanced UAVs against you, you can scramble their advanced UAV, and then they will not be able to streak up on you as easy. But just know, if they are playing in a party against you, it's still going to be pretty easy for them to work together as a squad and try to streak up. So nukes in this game are very team-oriented, in my personal opinion. But anyways, this isn't really about nukes, is it? So Karst River Quarry, as you can see right here, I'm just playing the areas that they could be spawning. They have A and B right now, so I'm just trying to hold down the area that is closest to us. So we spawned in the headquarters that is near A, I believe. That is where our home base is, which means they're going to be spawning at B towards C, right? Like me right now. That's the area they're going to be spawning in. As you can see, they're spawning in down there. So being on a rooftop like this gives you an advantage over your enemies, because you can see exactly where they're going to be at, where they'll be walking, all that kind of stuff. But there is one catch to this, and that is right here how I died, one off my support helo. There was a guy watching me and ready for me, so that's something you have to be careful about whenever you're in the high ground, which is very good, but it's also very bad, just simply because if you are in the high ground, everybody on the map is basically going to be seeing you from wherever they may be hiding. Like, there's a lot of snipers that like to sit up on the mountainside there, and it can be really, really frustrating if you're on the rooftop and you get taken out by a sniper. So generally, being inside of those buildings that are around C and controlling those buildings is a little bit better. Maybe you want to play low on the ground if you know that they're going to be spawning there. But anyways, right here, just using my chopper gunner, trying to rack up some more kills, just wisely shooting down Hydra rockets as I see fit. I could probably get a little bit more kills if I save my Hydra rockets even a little bit more, but these guys are really bad at taking out the chopper gunner, which it's honestly a very easy streak to take out considering how low of health it actually has, but it's a very effective kill streak if you do get good with it. And yeah, so I believe I go on another... that was my final death, I believe, for the gameplay, so I think I'm just going to go on a streak for the rest of the game. And really, this is something I really love about the Scar, is it has 3-shot damage, so this is another tip for ground war guys. The AK-47 and the Scar are some of the best guns for ground war whenever it comes to playing all different ranges, especially because I'm trying to figure out right now what the best ground war builds are for these guns, but if you play properly in ground war, you're not playing too aggressive, and you're playing power positions properly, and just using spawn logic, because right here they're all going to be spawning pretty much outside down there, or they'll be spawning in the building. If our teammates are mostly in the building across, or they'll be spawning, because they're going to be spawning in that building that's across, you could just go ahead and pick them off out from up here, and they'll be spawning out in the open down there. There's different spawn systems depending on where your teammates are standing and stuff like that. And it tries to group spawns together as well. So basically, I'm sitting up here in this power position just waiting for people to spawn in and try to fight me or whatever they're doing. And basically that's how Ground War is played. Ground War is not a game mode where you're really running around. It's more of a game mode where you're playing power positions, buildings, whatever, and just trying to lock them down and keep enemies from being able to take those positions from you. It's also a lot about high ground compared to other modes. But yeah, so the AK-47 and SCAR are some of the best guns for Ground War because they are 3-shot kills. The AK-47 can be built in a way that it can be a 3-shot kill across the entire map and a 2-tap to the head across the entire map, which actually makes the AK-47 a very, very good option if you guys are going to be fighting people from longer ranges. And if you're also looking to kill snipers, because a lot of people in Ground War snipe, the ones that aren't really so good at the game, they try to hide in their headquarters and just spawn snipe all game. So what you really want to do is, if you have really good accuracy and you know how to control that AK-47 and you use attachments that are best suited for the AK-47 for long range, you can really have this counter sniper assault rifle. And I even tried it on Port of Verdansk. I was using a AK-47 with a sniper scope, and it doesn't really feel that bad with a sniper scope. If you're going to be playing defensive and just trying to kill snipers, you can really do some heavy damage with the AK-47. And unlike sniping, you actually have follow-up shots you can use with not too much recoil if you have the right setup. So I would really recommend trying to find a class setup that you feel comfortable with the SCAR and the AK-47 for Ground War. In my opinion, damage is probably the most important thing for Ground War, because you're going to be wanting to kill people at various ranges, and a lot of the times you're going to be fighting people at much longer ranges in Ground War, which is why I really like it, because the time to kill in this game is so fast, and I really feel like the most skilled gunfights in this game are at range, considering that they require the most aim compared to 6 versus 6 and 10 versus 10. It's just really just a matter of what gun you're using in those modes, which is really just MP5, M4, and other guns that have a good enough ADS time, low enough recoil, and just, you know, that I really feel that the Gunsmith in this game was a really good thing they did, but at the same time, it just really makes weapon balancing hard, because they have a base version of the gun and then all these different attachments that modify your gun. And I think the Gunsmith is what really makes the M4A1 and the MP5 so overpowered compared to some of the other guns in the game, is just because all the other guns, like the AK-47 at a base, is really slow, right? It's good damage, but the base gun is really slow handling. Same thing with the SCAR, and that's what honestly makes the M4A1 such a great gun, is that its handling's pretty good. And then if you want to reduce that recoil as well as get some more range, you know, maybe you want to keep it silenced, whatever, you're not really losing much ADS speed, and you'll still be faster than the other assault rifles in the game. And that's what really makes the AK-47 or the M4A1 so good, in my opinion. And same thing with the MP5, is that they have the range, they have the handling, they just basically have the whole package. And if you're using something like a SCAR or an AK-47, the only thing they really have going for it is damage, right? They have high recoil, they have really slow handling, but they are really good guns in Ground War, and that is where they shine compared to the normal modes. So I would really recommend giving these guns a try. I'd recommend trying out the counter UAV if you find yourself playing against really sweaty players all the time. Just know that you have to call in those counter UAVs pretty smart, and just experiment with the game, have some fun, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Peace out.